going to create a YesNo field and a date field in the countries database in the country table. So we'll open up the country table, and then we'll go to table design here, and in here we want to know if you've visited this country, so I'll type visited question mark, and then in here we'll change this to a YesNo field. We also want to know the date you visited, and then here in the data type we'll change it to date time field. We're finished. So let's go to the data sheet view. And you must first save the table, yes. And here's the data sheet view. Just imagine that we've been to Argentina. Just click your mouse and tick it. We've been to China, France, Saudi Arabia. That's enough. And then the dates that we visited. So in here you can choose a date. Let's say it was last year. June. The next one we did was China, and imagine we went to China last year, 13th of August. Let's choose more dates. 19th of September for France, and the last one, Saudi Arabia, 28th of November. I'm going to close the table now. And I'm going to do an SQL query. Now for the query we're going to use, it's from this question here. Find all countries you visited last year. You need to create a YesNo field, we've done that. And a date visited field, where we have to put in, let's say actually visited in November last year. So how do we do this? Well, using SQL we're going to create and query design, add the country and close. And let's take the country and the population, and then scroll down and you can see one of the fields you added, the YesNo field. Take that one and the date visited. So down here we need to ask the questions if we were using Access, which of course in Access would be, did you visit? Yes, and the date that you visited. Start for any day, slash, we want November, that's 11, and slash, we could do last year or we could do any year. Let's run that one. Now that's our answer using Access. To do the same thing with SQL, let's close this query, and I'll save this one and call it visited in November. And to do the same thing with SQL, this is what you do: create, query design, add, close, then go up here in the view, go to SQL view, and it's put select in, and what we want is country. Then you need to do a comma. That's a text field, country, so that's quite easy to use. The population field we have to use square brackets because the data type is not text. When we use data types that are different to text, we have to use square brackets. And this one is population, million. That's the field name. We have to close the square bracket, and then a comma, then a space. Visited is the next field. That was our yes/no field. So again, because it's not a text field, it's a yes/no field, we have to use square brackets. And we called this field visited question mark. Close the square brackets, comma, space. And the next field was a date. We wanted to know all the November visits. Again, it's not a text field, it's a date time field, so we need square brackets. And we called this field date visited. And close the square bracket. Where does this come from? It's from country, and we want that semicolon to be at the end. And here's our criteria, where, and we want to know that the visited field is a yes, so we have to do square bracket, visited, question mark, close square bracket, no space, equals yes, space, and space, square bracket, date visited, close square bracket, it's the end of the field name, space, like, space, inverted commas, and then star, slash, 11, slash, star, close, inverted commas, and semicolon at the end. And that should do the same job as what we did in this query. Let's run the query. And our answer is Saudi Arabia. We visited this, yes, and we did on the 28th of the 11th. Let's close that query and save it, and I'll call this visited in November SQL, and OK. Finally, let's compare these two, the code. So if we look at the Microsoft one, and then check the SQL in here, it's very clumsy, very difficult looking, lots of repetition. It's not a very good variant of SQL. Now let's look at our proper SQL to get the same thing. Much easier to understand.